took me 6 years to get my undergraduate degree because I switched schools. Mom lost her job and I was down at Florida A&M, but I stayed with what I knew in my heart I wanted to become. And now I realized what I really wanted to become was a servant leader. So I've spent 22 and a half years in the field of education. I've had some amazing success, but more than anything, I've met some of the most amazing young people I could have ever met. Matter of fact, my most amazing years as an educator still are my teaching years. And that's when I was able to just give unselfishly of myself every single day, just pour into kids, looking at me like you're looking at me right now, day in and day out. So much so, quick story, I have this group of kids, y'all, believe it or not, class of 2000. Before they left and graduated, we said, let's get together before you go to college. They said, sure, y'all come to my house. They came to my house in the summer. So they all came to the house, we talked about where we were going, HU and Spell, and everyone was going to different places. And before we left from my house, somebody said, hey, let's get together in Christmas. I said, sure, y'all come to my house. So they all got home for Christmas break, came over to the house. How's your first semester? We talked about it. So before somebody left, they said, let's get back together when we come back for the end of the year. Believe it or not, we have gotten together for 18 straight years.
Wow.
So now they're bringing husbands and wives and kids. I married one of the couples. It has been the most unbelievable experience. But when you take on the spirit of a servant leader, it compels you to do things that not only bless the people that you work with, but it blesses you as well. So that I could stand here all day and tell my story. I'm gonna shut up right there. We'll get maybe the next time. So I told you I was an academic, right? So here's what a servant leader is to me. A servant leader is a soul engulfed in rendering varied assistance as needed to tackle low environments and achieving deeply empowering results. That's a servant leader. Let me break it down if y'all don't mind. Most important part to me as a servant leader is the soul. I have realized that if you really want to make a difference in the world and you want to look out and try to change the common good and render some positive results, it has to come from your soul. It cannot be the meeting of a requirement for community service hours to join a fraternity or sorority. It can't be something that you just do because you have some time. It becomes that time that you really don't have time to do anything. It comes from your soul. So as you journey into whatever it is that God has for you to be, you better know if you want to really, really get into it, it has to come from your soul. And then you got to get yourself engulfed in this whole spirit. When you're engulfed in something, I mean, it overtakes you. You think about it when you're away from it, when you're with it. You think about it all the time because what it helps you to do is while you're in it, you're in it. And when you're not in it, you're still in it. And when you get back in it, you were out of it, but in it. And you're so in it because you were in it when you weren't in it. That makes sense? When it's in your soul. Varied assistance. We can pick and choose. See, some people like to pick and choose how to serve. Servant leader doesn't do that. A servant leader is picked and chosen on how to serve because God aligned that servant leader up and put him or her in a certain spot at a certain time for a certain purpose and give them certain qualities to be able to render service. And I'm standing here in front of you right now as a witness that I know God has placed me in certain spots and empowered me at the right time to do certain things. So varied assistance. You don't look for what you want to do, but you look for how you can serve, which can be which can be all over the place. To tackle low environments. A servant leader, in my opinion, is always looking for the underdog. Always looking for the one who needs the most help. Always looking for an opportunity to really raise somebody up. Always looking for the person over in the corner or the group disenfranchised. That's what the servant leader does. A little bit more about me. I've spent my whole life in Title I, impoverished community schools, and that is by design. I said, take me there. I want to go to that. Give me that class. Put that dude in my class. I want this dude right here to mentor. Those are the people that I wanted to serve because I saw that as a low environment. And when I say low environment, I don't mean it disrespectfully, but it basically says you see somebody where they are not where they ought to be. And you see them as a low, but you know you can do what it takes to bring them up. That's what a servant leader does. Achieving deeply empowering results. And to me, this is possibly the most important part because servant leadership is all about serving who? Serving who? Say it. Serving others, and those others we call them people. There we go. Serving people. ultimately so that you will empower them deeply to go do the same thing, if not more, of what you're doing. So that's my acronym, servant leader, and that's what I've tried to live my life by for a very long time. So let's talk about some research on the topic. So I've learned, again, we talked about it being from the soul, but servant leadership, when it really gets inside of you, it becomes the blood in your veins. And when I say the blood in your veins, all I simply mean is it is what keeps you alive. Now, don't let the gray hair fool you. I'm in great shape. I've been blessed to stay in tremendous shape. But let me explain to you why I think I'm in tremendous shape. I have given so much of myself to people and to causes and to generations. And I now see that God has just blessed me to have a healthy life. Now, I'm a cancer survivor. Y'all clap it up for that. Clap it up. My cancer is older than some of y'all in here. I'm a 19-year cancer survivor. And when God brought me out of that cancer, it just illuminated my purpose. And I can tell you, as I think about kids, when they say, thank you, Dr. Sims, what you did for me, my kids don't realize how much they did for me. Probably more than I did for them, in my personal opinion. So it becomes blood in your veins. A servant leader looks for any way to help mankind. Now, this one is a challenge because you know what some people do? They do the same thing that Moses did when God rolled up on him and told him what he was supposed to do. Moses started giving excuses. Man, I can't speak. You want to get in front of the folks and I can't even speak? And God basically said, I'm going to give you what you need. I just need you to be there. So a servant leader doesn't make excuses about what they feel like they can or cannot do, because what you will find out about yourself, if you see something, you really want to do it, but you're not totally empowered, my personal opinion, get somewhere into it. And what'll happen is you'll start learning and growing and becoming and start connecting with people. The next thing you know, you are capable of doing some things you never thought you would be able to do. We're attracted to low environments. I talked about that. That is attractive to a servant leader. So I want you to be thinking about a lens. And I'll talk about the lens in a little bit more. I want to think about the lens that you walk around with as you strive to serve and to help. It ought to be one of those lenses that's looking for that low environment, an opportunity to bring somebody, some group, something up. And then finally, a servant leader keeps assurances in the side pocket. As you find yourself trying to deal with people who are downtrodden and down on their luck and depressed, who really need you, they're needing not just a resource, but they're needing somebody just to give them a pat on the back, to let them know to be okay. But then to follow that up, not with words, but with some service. So this is one of my mantras. I live by this thing right here. And I always tell all of my groups, when I was a principal, I'd always tell my assistant principals and my leadership team, keep assurances in your pocket. Which basically means anytime you were dealing with somebody, you better come back at some kind of way in that exchange with something that is assuring. Not everything that you say, but something you say ought to be assuring. So there's this conversational piece to servant leadership that we have to master as well. And y'all know some people out there who have really mastered it. We know this guy really mastered it, right? He mastered it. But guess what? That's not who I want to talk about. Not in this picture. I want to talk about this guy. James Owens. James Owens. Anybody know James Owens? Yeah, I know you know James Owens. So let me tell you how I met James Owens. Now you notice, here he is. He's rolling with the whole crew of Abernathy and everybody. He was right there, a younger gentleman. He died at the age of, I think 66, rest his soul, in 2008. But I got involved with the SCLC women. We did this play when I was back 17. One of the trips was to Selma, Alabama, to do the play. And the play was called Choices. It's about AIDS and making bad choices and making better choices. So of all the people on the bus, who gets on the bus? This big dude named James Owens. And I got to talk to him, and I said, hey man, how'd you get that medallion? Y'all know the medallion I'm talking about? The medallion? There's this medallion, I think it's King. And looking up at this, it's the most amazing medallion, but only certain people have that medallion. I said, dude, how'd you get that medallion? And he explained to me how he worked with King, was in the struggle. It was really mind-blowing, having I ever met Dr. Martin Luther King to talk with this man. Rewind. I'm at my school minding my own business, and we have this assembly during Black History Month. Who shows up? James Owens. Speaks at the school. So I had intimate contact with this man